Let me say good morning to those of you listening to Classic Radio, whether you're listening to 105.5 or 105.9. Good Tuesday morning. Those of you viewing GBN TV, Channel 7, Channel 11, Channel 20, I want to wish you a happy day also. And those of you who are happy that we had those showers, I was certainly happy for it. And hopefully that probably we could get it all day. That'll be just so fine. All right. Let me say, those of you via our social media platforms, good morning to you, whether you're viewing and listening, Facebook page, your YouTube channels, GBN's webpage. Welcome to this edition of To The Point, Tuesday, the 20th day of May 2024. I'm your host, GT, and it's Opposition Tuesday. And with us this morning, we have with us representing the New National Party, the opposition party here in Grenada, Mr. Roland Bhola. Let's go over to him and say good morning to Mr. Bhola. Mr. Bhola, good morning and welcome once again. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you, GT. Thank you very much. And good morning to the GBN staff, management and staff. Of course, the listening public. You have so many different medium by which people now can tune in and listen, wherever they are. And so I say good morning to everyone.
All right. Certainly happy to have you on the program this morning, as usual. Let's get into the conversation this morning. A few weeks ago, the New National Party, they had a press conference and they launched out their 40 years of the New National Party. There's lots, of course, coming up in terms of the major events that will signify that 40 years of the New National Party. I think it's sometime in December that the actual NMP Day, as it will be referred to. Tell us about 40 years of the New National Party from you being part of it to for where you're at now. Tell us about that as we go through a bit of the conversation this morning.
Well, thank you, GT, for that. Just to let you and the listening public know, I have not been there from the beginning, but I do have a little bit of the history, a little knowledge in my head. So the party was started there. It was the coming together of three different political organizations. You had the GNP, which then was led by Mr. Howard Blaze. You had the GDM, I think it was called, and that was led by Mr. Francis Alexis, and another small organization that was led by Mr. George Brizan, the late George Brizan, I think it was called the National Party. I may miss the acronyms a little bit because I don't have a document before me. However, though, they came together in that to form a party to go into that election after we had the intervention after the demise of the revolution. You had an interim government that was led for a period by Mr. Brafitt, and then they were preparing to go into general elections. And from what I've learned is that at that time, the GULP, which was the party that was ousted out of government during the 79 revolution, or coup, as it is commonly referred to. The analysts felt that the GULP was still very formidable, and probably if those little parties went into the election individually, there was a very strong possibility that the GULP could have regained the seat of power. And so they felt that the coming together of all those parties may have created a stronger force for the GULP to be reckoned with. As we know through the history, in that first election, the NMP, they won 14 of the 15 seats that was available in Parliament. The only one that was won by the GULP was the St. Andrews Northeast constituency where I live, and a constituency that I have happened to represent for 3 times thereafter. That seat was won by Mr. Marcel Peters then. And that party continued to be very dominant in the history of politics in Grenada. Coming from that 1984, I believe, elections. There was then a change in leadership some years after. At a convention at the the St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary School, where the delegates at that convention voted in favor of having the now leader of the party, Dr. Kit Mitchell, to lead the party as opposed to the previous leader, Mr. Robert Blaze. And we all know, or most people know, the history of that. Dr. Mitchell was fired as a result of that from the party. He was then the Minister for Works, became the political leader of the party. And Mr. Blaze then formed the TNP. And so the NNP stayed with Dr. Mitchell. And there was a lot of success thereafter. There was some failures. The party went into several elections and winning most, including on 3 separate occasions, winning all 15 seats in Parliament under the leadership of Dr. Mitchell. In a general sense, I believe that the NNP has done a lot of good for Grenada, has exposed Grenada and Grenadians to a lot of modern stuff. One of the hallmarks of the party would be its sort of trust for infrastructural development. So throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, one would recognize that there have been a lot of roads, new roads built, and a lot of improvement in the field of education, following on the footsteps of the People's Revolutionary Government, who had a great interest in education, because many of our people went to foreign lands for studies. The New National Party continued that, empowered a lot of people, a lot of the small business people and contractors that you have today came about during the era of the New National Party being in office. So 40 years looking back, there are a lot. We can take the entire program to talk. And I don't want to go into a lot of individual things.
But you know, it would lead to, if I could tap in on you here just a wee bit, because another question I was going to ask as you started off, you sort of gave a little bit of insight in it as you were speaking a while ago. I was going to talk, let's talk about some of the major achievement that the NNP could say it can hold its head high about as being a party that has been in the longevity of its time. 40 years. It's a long time. What are some from you when you took up being part of the party? What are some of the major achievements that the NNP can say that it can hold its head high for?
One, when you in terms of our health situation, the infrastructure, not necessarily the service. I think a lot still needs to be done. A lot is desired in terms of the level of service that our people receive health-wise. But in terms of infrastructural development, the NNP can hold their head very high there in that, they built the brand new hospital. They also started and then came back and completed the second phase, which was additional, ensuring that the working environment was much better. Many of the health centers at the various parishes or at the village level were renovated, some were expanded. You had in St. Patrick's something that was built there that should be like a polyclinic, to assist. You have the one in Goab. So from an infrastructural standpoint, looking at health, they can hold their head high, being very proud about that. In terms of the fisheries sector, it was during the era of the New National Party that we really started seeing real and serious exploitation of our fish, the blue and yellowfin tuna and so forth. And we have seen tremendous expansion and improvement in the fish market and fish houses in terms of where the vendors would operate and the storage facility. You have St. George's, you have St. John's, you have Grenville, Sotes being improved, and so Carrico and Petit Martinique, some work was done. So we saw great improvement in that area as well. Roads and bridges. I know that the NNP had a trust and they had a program especially for improvement and expansion of a lot of our bridges. As we recognize now, there's been a lot, much bigger, well, much more vehicles, number one, but secondly, a lot of bigger trucks and so that traverse our roads. And had it not been for the improvement and expansion of many of the bridges through the length and breadth of Grenada, maybe we would have had many roads collapsing now. So that was a vision that they worked with. The cruise ship terminal as another example. And like I said, a lot of it has been infrastructure. But the NNP also did much work in terms of trying to provide housing for low and middle income earners. We know we can identify a couple of those in Frequency and Subies, of course, Subies Marquee area, over the park there up the hill with some houses, low-income houses by the Chinese. And now those that are still there waiting to be occupied, that was started again because of an arrangement made with the People's Republic of China, where we are supposed to get at least 2,000 units of those size small for low and middle income people. We look at sporting facilities throughout the length and breadth of the country. We can see at the parish and village level improvement to a lot of the fields. Progress Park comes into play, the Victoria Park in Grenville, of course, Cuthbert Peters Park in Gov, Elasages, and many others that got tremendous amount of work done in terms of expansion, in terms of making the surfaces much more level and smooth, the fencing, lighting in some instances. A lot more to be done, but a lot of work was done. The National Stadium, yes. Football and so on, athletics. And we believe that has helped to improve, and not just the facilities in terms of athletics were done and improved on, but a lot of work was done, a lot went into getting many of our students, our youngsters who were very promising and had potential, given the assistance so that they can go abroad and expand on their studies, one, but also develop their sporting talent. I remember during the era of his gone to rest, may he so rest in peace, Adrian Spaceman Mitchell. That was a major trust for him, getting athletes out, working along with Ms. Vida Bruno as his peers then. I think that was the era in which Grenada saw the most of our athletes going abroad, mainly to the U.S., some other countries and some of them, but mainly to the U.S., into colleges and universities. And
right.
So there are a lot of major activities that we can continue to talk about. The new port in Carriacou for the both passenger and cargo. All of those were done during the time of the NNP, and we can go on and on.
Let's also talk. This is also crucial to talk about disappointments. I mean, your new National Party been in government, have been elected several times in the government. What are some of the the disappointments that maybe you could see that you could probably say, hey, this could have probably been done better? What are some of the disappointments you would like to speak of, or maybe it could be a touchy subject to get into? But what are some of the disappointments from the new National Party that you would say could have been done better?
Let me start it by saying that, first of all, GT. In every effort that is being made to pursue greatness, to move forward, there will be some holdback, there will be some pushback, there will be some disappointment. And certainly, during the era of the new National Party, while we can boast and talk about a lot of achievement, a tremendous amount of achievement, there were some sore areas. There were some people who fell through the cracks. And I don't believe that we have had sufficient or a proper enough network to capture these people and take care of them. One of my greatest disappointment as an individual with the new National Party is our inability to have lifted more people out of, we can say poverty, out of the lower strata into a much higher strata. There are a lot of people that may not want to give credit, but there are a lot of people who are doing much better than they were before, and it was because of assistance of some sort of program by the new National Party. They were able to do that. But I believe that's an area we needed to focus on a lot, development of the human capacity. I mean, when you look at, for example, the Imani as a program which afforded a lot of young people who otherwise may not have had an opportunity for job training, for exposure on the job market. And so that's a program that gave tremendous support to young people. Some people will tell you today, I am where I am, I'm doing the job that I'm doing, all because of the Imani. I came through the Imani, they assisted me. The manpower program, where we targeted young men who probably have given up all hopes on being a better human being, a better citizen, being able to make a contribution to society. And through the manpower power program, some of them were lifted out of where they were into a better place, learned a skill, have a certificate to show, and was given some sort of startup capital where they could have purchased tools or whatever they needed to start their own business. But I felt that we needed to put more monies, and we needed to have a greater mass of people. So that's one of my greatest disappointments, speaking on behalf of the party, but my individual thing. There were a lot of other things that people may talk about, maybe expectations that people have. They have had individual disappointments, which may not be nationalized. I felt also too that for the time that we've been around as a party and been harnessing the office of governance, in terms of our farmers and our ability to have set up better and more export market for some of what we produce, I thought we didn't do well enough in that area, because we have tremendous potential as a country to grow a lot of things. And I know it's not difficult, especially for fresh fruits and vegetables, to enter into the foreign markets. Sometimes people talk as though it is one of the easiest things to do. There are a lot of restrictions, there are a lot of conditionalities that you have to meet, but I felt we should have made greater efforts in that area to help our ordinary people to get this stuff off. I mean, we had the marketing board who had the primary responsibility for so doing, but maybe as a government, we needed to push them a little harder. We probably needed to give greater assistance. We probably could have sought technical advice and assistance from some of our friendly countries who have had successes in those areas and do better. We have come a long way in terms of our fishing, in terms of training of our fishermen and vendors, also the export market, in terms of the people that we refer to as the longliners going out for a couple of days, improvement in the vessels that they use and so forth, communication devices. But even that as an area that has tremendous potential and can bring in a lot of foreign exchange, there's still some work that needs to be done there. And yes, we have done quite a bit. We have improved greatly, but there's still a lot of room for improvement. So there are some areas that we can look back at and see more needed to be done, or a new system needed to operate from. And I did mention health before, in terms of where we have done tremendous work with the infrastructure, but in terms of service delivery, I felt that's another area of disappointment where, as a party, having been around, we probably should have invested more time and energy in trying to prepare people, train them better, to deliver better health services to our people. But mind you, I want to also say that this is not a one-track thing. It is not a case where a government or a party in office can and has to do everything. There must be also correspondingly a willingness on the part of the people to want to change, to want to go forward. And sometimes I think that's where the rubber meets the road, and sometimes people get tired and get fed up, because change is easy to talk about, but to actually get it implemented, people are sometimes very resistant. So while I say those things and I see those things as disappointment, I also must add that in some instances, I don't know that our people are really were really ready or prepared to make the changes that was necessary.
All right. Mr. Bhola, we drew for a break. Let's take it. We'll be right back, folks. Stay with us. It's To The Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. We'll be back after the break.
The laundry, always do a full load, save water.
This awareness initiative is part of activities under the Climate Resilient Water sector in Grenada. The project is funded by the Green Climate Fund, the German government, and the government of Grenada.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for Grenada to laugh again. Heritage Theatre presents Spice Laugh Comedy Bash 2024, Saturday, June 22nd and Sunday, 23rd June at the Trade Center in Grandance, and on Sunday, 30th June at the Deluxe Cinema in Grenville. Showtime, 7 p.m. every time, featuring some of Grenada's best ambassadors of comedy: Robert White, Dillion Walters, Kareem Alexis, Dale Bhola, and other outstanding comedic performances, all coming to knock you off your seats with laughter. Get your tickets now. Bring out the entire family. Tickets are $60 and available at Mitchell's Pharmacy in Grandance, Gittins Health and Wellness at all outlets, Art and Soul Bookstore, Spiceland Mall, 3B's Shoe Store, downtown St. George's, Calico Supermarket, Grenville and Sutairs, St. David's Pharmacy, and Go to Fet. It's time for Spice Laugh Comedy Bash 2024.
Welcome back once again, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. Welcome back, Mr. Bhola. Mr. Bhola, welcome back once again. Let's get into another segment of the conversation this morning. I was thinking of keeping the conversation a whole lot on the new National Party this morning.
Yeah. But JT, just before you go on with your question, I just needed to remember at the very beginning when I named some of the parties that came together to form the new National Party.
Yes.
I did say George Brizan, the National Party. Yeah. Well, the National Party really was the TNP, which was formed after by Mr. Blaze. Mr. Brizan's party then was called the National Democratic Party. National Democratic Party. So I just wanted to make that correction.
Okay, great for giving that correction there. My next question that I want to talk to you about is, from time to time we hear the party, we hear, of course, the political leader, individuals like yourself being part of the executive and so forth, talk about restructuring of the new National Party. Tell us about the process. How is that going? And what changes has taken place since the conversation that has been going on in terms of the restructuring and so forth? Tell us about that.
It's slow, GT. Extremely slow. And the actual reason, I don't know. Some people credit it and say that probably we need someone new at the helm. That's what some people say. I don't know. That Dr. Mitchell has done great work, tremendous amount of work. As a matter of fact, I still hail him personally as one of the better leaders that we've ever had. He has great insight and has done a lot for the country. The party itself, we've been speaking a few years now of transforming it more into an institution. as opposed to just a political party. We want it to be a place where when you become a member, when you join, you don't only go to rallies, you don't just wear green T-shirts or wave a flag, but there's a lot more that we can offer, or we should be offering. So we need to have our own headquarters, and we have made steps towards that direction in terms of purchasing of land and so in the name of the party. I think we have had, yes, we did have a design of what a building would look like, or what we would want the building to look like, and, you know, for different purposes, conference room and what have you. We're still working out the meat and bone of how we'll raise the necessary revenue to construct something like that. We have spoken about having a few constitutional changes in the party, and that takes time because you must decide what you want to remove and what you want to replace with and why, and that must be approved by the executive, then go to not just a convention straight away, but you need to have a general council where you get ratification and then you take it to a convention for approval. We have spoken about developing our youth sector of the party. A lot of young people, some are no longer with the NNP, but have gotten the break, have gotten recognition as a result of coming through the new national party, whether they were a youth ambassador or what have you, into some program that the party had set up for young people. There have always been a love and a trust for that, but we have never really cemented it and make it like into an institution. And we got some documentation from Jamaica, I think it's the Jamaica Labour Party, where they have institutionalized a whole youth section, which has a tremendous influence on young people in Jamaica for the party one, but also in terms of the advocacy for changes, governmental-wise and so on. We believe something like that can do well in Grenada because the young people are of today and of tomorrow. We are going and moving on quickly. They are the ones living under the conditions, whatever they are presently, and they're the ones that will be living with and probably managing conditions in years to come. So they are very important strata of society, and we need to do a lot more for them. So our party, we have highlighted and documented all of those stuff, but actually getting it done, the nuts and bolts of it. We seem to have some issues there. You know, we make a couple of steps and then we get halted because there are other things that we need to concentrate on. And we are also actively trying to get more people involved in helping us to make that kind of transformation. So yes, we're still working on it. We have never given up on it, but it is moving much slower than we would like it to move.
All right. Would you say also that complacency is one of is a word that we could put in there that may have brought to the demise of the new national party during the last general election? Would you agree with me on saying that?
Yeah, in some ways, I do agree with you. In some ways, you know, I think that we have been victorious for so long. We have been able to sweep the polls on 3 separate occasions, like I mentioned before. Made some of us believe that we were invincible. That and there's a song, as you mentioned, that there's a song that was done for us. I think it was by Randy Isaac many years ago. I think even before my time of being in the party. And every time I hear this song, I always murmur to who is close to me that this is a song that we should stop playing. A really nice beat, upbeat. Nothing. I have nothing, absolutely nothing against.
You said we know what we have, but we don't know what we will get, right? Something like that sort?
No, not this one. This is good. No, there is one that says nobody can beat the NNP. I don't know if you remember that one.
All right.
That song always worries me. Nobody can beat the NNP. I mean, it has a good up-tempo beat and people dance to it and they're happy. But I think sometimes when you listen to those things and the rank and file members, they feel, of course, we are now the best. Who could beat us? We've swept the polls. So I would agree with you, GT, that complacency to quite a large extent would have been one of the factors, not the only, but one of the factors that crept in and cause us to be mediocre instead of being really professional every step of the way.
All right. Another question I want to ask: the moral of the executive lately, as relates to, they had various issues in the public domain lately. What is the moral of the executive of the New National Party?
Really high, yeah. It's really high, unbelievably high. And I tell you really high because, as you correctly said, there are a number of issues that hit the party that could have rocked it to the core if we were not of high moral, good ethics, and strong standing as people who recognize that we have a role to play in Grenada State, that we have a service to provide. It's not just about being in office and being in charge, but it's about giving hope to people and providing service to them. And despite what has happened, some of them we do not like. We wish that they never happened. We wish if we can replay the tape that we'll delete some of those things and not have them happen. But it all comes with organization, as we said before. When you're trying to restructure, when you're trying to put things in place, there are sometimes some fallouts. There are some people who are bent on and intent on going a particular direction that sometimes doesn't lead you to where the party as a whole believe it must be going. And sometimes we part ways, not in the nicest of ways. I mean, as a party, we understand what politics is all about. It's a numbers game. It's about people. And if you're shedding people, you're not playing the game as well as you should. You always have to be attracting and improving and growing your numbers. So it's sad that some of those incidents occurred. Some people had to move on, had to be expelled, if you want to use that word. But I think that has strengthened and lifted the morale of those who are there, understanding now that we have to work double times than we did before, because we have to find innovative ways now of attracting and bringing on new membership and people who are willing and prepared to work, not just people who are ready for a ride. We don't want to promote windbagism. We don't want people just to come to say yes. We need people who will understand the struggle, understand what needs to happen, and understand what true service really means, making sacrificing self, and so to ensure that there is a greater good for the party and, of course, for the Grenadian people.
Mr. Bhola, I have another question I want to throw at you before a break. The future of the New National Party as it stands. What's your personal projection for the future of the New National Party?
Great. The New National Party has a very bright future. Very, very, very bright future. It's like we can compare it, and incidentally, our symbol is the house. Now, remember, our house was built 40 years ago, and the time has come for some restructuring, some repairing. So it would appear as though you're tearing down the house, but what you're actually doing is removing some of the infested part, insect-infested part, some of the board and pillars that has gone bad, that has started cracking or doing whatever, and you are building back stronger. You are putting things in place that will give you a stronger, more formidable party, a party that can give you another 40 or 50 years of good service before you may have to do any major repairs. One of the things we will do different going forward, though, is that constantly we will be checking the material that we have built from and making the necessary changes bit by bit as you go through the years, and not wait for a complete haul over like you see happening now.
All right, great. We drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back in the next segment, I will invite our listeners and viewers. I'm sure there are questions they may like to throw at you this morning, Mr. Bhola. So you hope for the challenge, and we'll come back. When we come back, we'll invite those calls. Stay with us, folks. We'll take a short break, and we will be right back.
When you filter, ha? Dem taler filter. Ozzy!
Coming up, Barbados is heating up with enhanced attractions and hotel properties. World Cup cricket's touching down in the Caribbean. And Trinidad and Tobago is ready in the food department. A year's worth of beaches and more. We're talking about the Antigua and Barbuda experience. The rising stars of the track and the pool. Caribbean Village cricket. There's endless action on and off the field. It's all next on this station.
Miss Faithlin's family drama continues with I Do by Urias Peters at Labucan Creative Center, Saturdays at 8 p.m., Sundays at 6 p.m., June 8th to 30th.
Get ready, Grenada, for the 18th annual Hubbard's Legends in Concert. Hubbard's Legends in Concert, as we raise our hands and give thanks. On Saturday, October 26, 2024, Thanksgiving weekend. Grenada Trade Center, 7:30 p.m. Hubbard's Legends in Concert. Stay tuned to GBN for more.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's to the point here on the Classic Radio GBN TV. It's Opposition Tuesday, and representing the New National Party, the opposition party here in Grenada, we have Mr. Roland Bhola with us this morning. Mr. Bhola, welcome back. I did promise in this segment, we do have about 20 minutes or so left before we wrap this morning. We was going to take some calls from listeners and the viewers this morning. Let's take our first caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Telesford. Greetings. Is Mr. Bhola there with you? Can you hear me well?
Yes, he's hearing you pretty good.
I'm hearing you quite clear, caller. Good morning to you.
It's a pretty long time I've had an opportunity to punch a couple of questions to you. But there we go. Let's take advantage of the opportunity, Mr. Bhola, sir. Sitting there listening to me, two things came to my mind. Two words. One, politics. True politics. And according to the etymology of the word and so on from the Greek word polis, which is the people's business, in English, politics becomes the management of the people's business. And of course, those who exercise it and so on, politicians. But then there is another word, demagoguery. Demagoguery, of course, being the use of irrational, emotional, and spurious language. And dogma for the purpose of manipulating a people. There we go. And those who practice it, of course, are called demagogues. People don't like to hear that word because they believe I cussing. But there were words in the English dictionary and in other languages too. Mr. Bhola, the question is, it may be considered rhetorical, the question. Which one of these two has your party been practicing over the years? You don't have to answer if you don't want. The second one is this. No, it's a more powerful one, Mr. Bhola, and I want you to listen to me well. In 2002, the administration led by the New National Party and headed by Keith Mitchell commissioned 5 men in the Constitutional Review Commission. The head of that delegation was a man called Nicholas Liverpool from Dominica. He had to leave the post to go to take up the position of president of Dominica when they changed their constitution and so on. This team recommended certain things. By the way, they were commissioned by the government, the state, the document signed by a man called, he's a lawyer. He lives in Wester Hall across here. I can't remember the name of the man right now. He's a lawyer. He's retired now. He was the Governor General then, also called. This commission recommended certain things to be done about the Constitution. As a matter of fact, the document is so clear that it stated that Grenada, in effect, had never been a politically independent and sovereign nation state. I don't know if you're aware of that document and when it was published and so on as an orientation document for what was being suggested for the changing of the Constitution. Your administration, or the administration which you were part of, led by the party which you support, never did a thing to correct this or to take advantage of the recommendations made. And Grenada continued throughout the years from 2002 up to today, 22 years. And all we've been celebrating recently your political independence, of which is a waste of money and so on, paid to kind of, but it's not you did it, your party did it or whatever and so on. But the thing is, Grenada, we lost the opportunity to correct the colonial status of this country. Question: why hadn't your party, upon the recommendations, taken action? And I'm not talking about the action taken, the false farce and bluff of 2016 and 28 with referendum. I'm talking about true constitution reform in the country. Why hadn't that been done, sir? I trust that you understand my questions based on the utterances that I made. Have a nice day other than that, huh?
Yes, I hope you would have a very pleasant day yourself. For your first question, I will not give an answer to that because either way I answer, it will not work to suit our purposes because you have given clear of course, description of what both words mean. So I leave it to the judgment of you and the people. Secondly, I really can't say. I really don't remember. I think I faintly remember the commission working, but I can't say that I've laid eyes on the recommendations. I've heard you make mention of it many a times, and probably it's remiss of me never to try to find a copy and have a read and maybe even question my superiors as to why it was not, not acknowledged, but probably not taken on to change the entire constitution. Whatever the reasons, I don't know. These are things that I may have to find out.
All right. We do have another caller. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning. Let's hear from you. Please go right ahead, please.
Grand Rising. Yeah, Mr. Bhola. Presently right now, we don't need the politics right now in Grenada. What we need right now is leadership, whether the opposition and the present governments. The world right now is in crisis. There is a war, could lead to World War III happening right now to the world. Your government and many others over the years neglected agriculture and agreed to get rid of agriculture for tourism. And we're in a problem right now where people could hardly even put food on the table in Grenada. Okay, now, water is an issue. Over the years, one of the biggest dams in Grenada, they say Gary was foolish, is in Janangle. They say crack. Why does the government never choose to get an excavator and dig it up and rebuild it back? We continue building large hotels, so we increasing our hotel stock. Change up the whole water system and bring all the water to the hotel and neglect the community. The revolution has put in tanks on top of the hills. And some of the other politicians over the years come and never seems to continue because we have hills, people live in the valley. Now we need food. People cannot buy food. What we do is bring malls. Get rid of our culture. Just like in Trinidad, the Syrian get rid of African culture. It's the same thing happening here because our people is directed to the mall, towards the same set of people, and our community right now is eroding. I would like to hear more conversation. And Mr. Roland continue raising this issue about constitution, however it is. I agree with what he's saying. But what I'm saying to Mr. Roland, it cannot happen because Grenada is part of a corporation. Your birth paper, what you have, what your mother gives to you is a bond. Register you still as a slave under marine law. Okay? So the corporation, which America is a union, and in America, there's a place called Georgia, which have the Vatican, the United Kingdom still in control. Not even Trinidad and Tobago is a republic, neither independent. They all are de facto government, part of a corporation. Listen many times when they're talking, they're always talking about corporation. We are still slave. And this is the problem we have in the constitution we have, whether Trinidad, you didn't see Grenada was invaded. They live here and they invaded Haiti since 1915 and they never leave. And a closing, an African leader with the help of CARICOM, with the recommendation of Mayor Motley, support the Kenyan government invasion of Haiti. Invasion, the only thing was kept after slavery was the prison system and police. The name police come from slave catcher, sheriff, and marshal. Okay? So Kenya, after African people sell our people into slavery and talking about African unity, a president of Africa go to the United States, receive $100 million to go in Haiti to catch slave children. We're asking them, we'll like back our move out of the country and give us our resources. Haiti is one of the richest places in the Western Hemisphere. And CARICOM is in support of that. It's the sad day in the Caribbean for African people. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning. I'm not sure if there's any response that you can give us.
Well, absolutely not. He said a lot. It's a matter of people's choice. I don't know of any administration who actually said they wanted to kill agriculture. They may have placed more emphasis on one area more than the next. But to say to kill agriculture, I've never known of it. I mean, he may have more details than I do. And again, it's up to the individual, up to the family. Things are hard, things are tough. You can plant a little backyard gardening if you so desire, or if you don't want to. No one could really force you. As it relates to the water situation, it is the dry spell, and definitely there are some challenges. But I don't know if the caller was aware of the fact that right into the latter part of the New National Party term in office, we were able to raise through the Green Climate Fund over 120 or so, 20 plus million US for NAWASA, which is the body that is in charge of, damming and transporting water to the various villages. And at the moment, in some parts of Grenada, they're actively working, replacing some of the old mains that they had, putting in new ones. And only recently I saw from the GBN news that they are also preparing, because I think they have to construct from that fund about 5 new dams for greater storage facility when we can capture water, so that the dry spell will not be as tough as it is this year. And I saw on the news that they were prepared to start. They have actually contracted a company already, and they were giving some ideas of how the design of the tanks will be. So I believe there should be, in the years to come, some improvement in the water situation. Hopefully so.
All right. We do have another caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning, and good morning to Mr. Bhola.
Good morning, sir.
Talking about agriculture, are you aware that there is a lack of planting material in the country right now? Farmers are looking for seeds and they can't get to buy to plant.
No, I'm not aware of that. No, I'm not aware. I normally buy seedlings, not seeds direct.
Well, we're looking for seeds to plant and we can't find no matter where we go. So something is wrong. Something is going on in this country. Somebody got to see what's going on. Have a nice day, bro.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. We do have another caller. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning. You're welcome.
Yes, good morning, Mr.
Good morning to you.
Bhola and to the host.
Good morning.
My question to Mr. Bhola. Mr. Bhola, no disrespect, I'm just calling to ask you a question. Maybe 2 questions, but let me start with this one. You all were there for 23 years, right? I appreciate that. I know that you all have done what you all supposed to do, because you all was in office at the time, and you all supposed to be doing what you all had to do. Right? This government is only there 23 months. But I keep hearing every time is a condemnation or criticize or whatever. Give this time, no one is prime minister or presidents for life. You all need to just be advisor, encourager to the younger one. The people have spoken with the vote, and I think you all should respect that. Nobody can tell you who to vote for and who not to vote for. So if you all had lost in the polls, it's not anybody's fault. But it's you all was messing up and people needed changes. And I didn't say you all didn't do what you all not supposed to do when you all was there. But the people needed change. They need some more vibrant people. You all was there, you all didn't even build a factory to employ, to say 150 people. You all didn't do nothing. And every time, it's like after the fact. And you always know what all you should do and what all you shouldn't do next time. Come on, you all need to stop that. Politics, put that politics in the back burner. Grenada is very, people, life is very hard. People trying to make a daily living. People struggling. What you all is just planning, just try to see if you all could help. If you all could help, I will really hand my hand out to you. But my opinion now in closing, this government that is there is doing an excellent job. They are trying. They're trying the best. Have a blessed morning.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
Well, you have a blessed morning too, caller, but I don't know where that is coming from. For the entire morning, GT, I don't know if you could recall, I have not mentioned a word about the government. I've not said the government is doing good, bad, or in between. We were focusing on the NNP 40 years since their existence. So
all right.
I don't know. Maybe the caller is talking about something else.
Let's take another caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Well, good morning, and good morning to your guests. A pleasant, nice Grenada morning. Mr. Bhola, one question. Yes, under the NNP, could you tell me how many monies was lost in the CBI program, the Citizens by Investment program? Because when you come in, you have to come with all that, because it's 40 years we're talking about. So we want to know how much money did Grenada lost under the CBI program. Thank you.
Well, good question, but I don't know that government has lost money under CBI. It's a citizen by investment. People would make the application through an agent, and many of the law firms in Grenada are agents, and the agents are the ones that go through the process, doing all the documentations, the searches. The government take responsibility before they award someone citizenship, in terms of finding out on the background, getting information from foreign law enforcement agency. They use the local ones, they in touch with FBI and whoever else. But I don't know that they have lost any money, like money is to be collected and they didn't collect it.
All right.
Because a person will not get their citizenship if the agent, which would be the local firm, did not pay the necessary fees that they're supposed to be paid, that is supposed to be paid to the government. So I'm not aware of monies being lost.
Let's entertain another caller. Caller, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. GT. How are you, sir? Mr.
Not bad at all. Go right ahead, please.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Bhola. I didn't say you all do, but you all do lose a lot of things because of what you all did. You didn't talk about the shrimp from when Mr. GT asked you a certain question a while ago. You didn't talk about that. You didn't talk about the Manhattan project they had to buy over and over. You don't talk about all the small hotels, all you make the breakdown and they're still there on the ground, nothing happening. And you have over more than that. That a lot of mistake was made. Big mistake. A lot of money was spent. Also the call center. A lot of money was spent. You all talk about that at all. Have a nice day, Mr. Bhola.
Thank you, caller. You are talking about what you know, what you remember, what you consider, and I spoke about some of those that I remember and I consider. So I don't see a problem there.
All right. Let's entertain another caller. We have just approximately 3 minutes left on today's program. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning. You're welcome.
Hey, Mr. Bhola, good morning. You're a very interested guy this morning. Mr. Bhola, a question I was asked about the money with the CBI. Remember our passport was sold, right? For the shrimp farm, remember we lost $54.2 million. Remember the fall farm, we lost $18.6 million, Mr. Bhola. All right, anyway, my question to you, Mr. Bhola, you guys is celebrating 40 years. I hear the plans that you guys bring out, but I never heard nothing mentioned about a convention. And lately you had Mr. Boswin, you had Mr. Bradway, you also had Kenny Lalson and other members speaking up about the leadership. You said that Dr. Mitchell been there for 30 years and never been challenged. We heard Mr. Oliver Joseph said that the first quarter of the year will be hearing something. Mr. Bhola, we've been past the first quarter. And how come we don't hear nothing about the convention? And also I want you to explain that for me, that's part of your convention. That way you said that 1/3 of the voters will go to the General Secretary, I think. are subject to correction, but you know what I'm talking about, and demand a convention. Why we not having that happen? Why we not having that the 1/3 coming forward and forcing a convention? All right, and my last question to you: do you agree with the things that Anthony Boswin been saying about the party being hijacked until Dr. Mitchell get a vote that he wants that they will call a convention? This is my question. Also, before you go, last one thing, just one more thing. Mr. Bhola, I wanted to the revolution remind us of transportation, education, the airport, agro-industry. Deacon Mitchell, they pay pension, they give teachers their money, and right now they're developing progress. Tell me one thing that the NNP did that make a mark that cannot be erased in Grenadian minds.
Thank you, caller. Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. And that will be our final caller for the morning. Mr. Bhola, your response, and then we take some closing comments.
There are so many things there and a lot of inaccuracies, and the gentleman is asking me to agree with certain things. I don't agree with many things that has been said. He's talking about 1/3 and why it's not happening. The Constitution is absolutely clear. The Constitution says, the Constitution of the party, that 1/3 of the constituencies, if they are well organized, can come forward and demand a constitution. Nobody hasn't come, no constituency, and 1/3 for us will be 5 constituencies saying, okay, we are organized based on what the Constitution says. We have all our groups in place, our women, our youth, all of our village groups, and we are demanding a convention. That is in the Constitution. So if you ask why they're not coming forward, I can't say. These are for the constituencies to decide. I don't have to initiate that. Carla, you also have to remember that up until after the last election, Mr. Boson was the chairman of the party. You know? So there are many things that I heard Mr. Boson spoke about, and he was in a position where he could have influenced change, and he didn't. Maybe retroactively he feels that something should have been done and wasn't done, and he can say so. So people have a right to speak, but when they speak, not everything that everybody says are absolutely correct. It depends on which side of the fence they're standing on. Sometimes they say things differently. Because there are many things I can say. I recall after the general elections, we had a retreat up at Mongazo, where we were speaking about some of the things that we felt probably we didn't do right, or we made mistakes, or where we went wrong to have lost the elections. And when Dr. Mitchell said, well, look, I've said this will be it for me, this time I go. At that time, Mr. Boson was still the chairman of the party. And there are many others who could recall that he said to Dr. Mitchell, now is not the time for you to leave. You have helped us so many times. We have had so many victories with you. Now that we have lost, we need you to stick around as leader of the party to continue to build and transform and bring the party back into office. The same Mr. Boson said he has to go now. So, we can go into deep diatribe about a lot of things, which I don't want to. I don't think that these are matters for public consumption. I think whatever our differences are, we are going to work it out. And like I said before, GT, in my closing remarks at the same time, that I believe from what is happening now to NNP will just become stronger and a greater force to reckon with the future. The work to be done will be done, and of course the party will remain in force, in form, and Grenadians will recognize the NNP as the party to lead this country into a much better place.
All right. Mr. Bhola, I want to thank you very much for being on the program this morning. Appreciate it a whole lot. Have yourself a great day. What's left of it, sir?
You'll be good too as well.
All right. Take care. Hey, folks, let's say goodbye to those of you who are listening and viewing. Thank you for being part of today's program. All the best. Have yourself a good one. That's where we say goodbye for this edition of To The Point.